Welcome back to Ox Tools, and I'm Tom. So it's another Meatloaf episode, and I'm putting together a bunch of bits and pieces to put in the loaf pan and make a meatloaf out of. Got a couple of new tools to show you guys. Made a field trip this weekend up to a guy's pile that I've wanted to see for a while, so finally made it up there. Did a little horse trading with a viewer, and he had something that he couldn't use, and so we did a little horse trading, and we both ended up with something that we like. Viewer appreciation mail. Got a package in last week. We'll take a look at that, and we're gonna also take a look at this mystery tool. So we had a couple of guys. Nobody's been definitive with this last mystery tool, so we'll talk about that a little bit, and check out some old books too. So anyway, let's pop over to the table. We'll drag some stuff out and get a look at it. Okay, so this first viewer appreciation gift comes to us. This is actually the second one that this guy sent. This is from Gordon Melby, and he lives in a retirement community in Arizona, and apparently he goes to some garage sales in that community and and finds a few things. Well, he sent me some books, and he also sent me some a couple of cool little tools here. Let's talk about this one first. This is pretty trippy here. It's called a touch wrench, and if you push on that, it opens up, and like a dope, I didn't bring a hex to grab onto. The handle's kind of small. It's a little awkward. I can probably understand why maybe it didn't catch on. Anyway, it's kind of an odd curio tool there. It's kind of neat. Might be good for something. You know, this might work good on grabbing small diameter pipe or something like that, where you just kind of let go and it kind of preloads it against the teeth. So that's kind of interesting. Now this one here, I've never seen one like this. Now this is from my favorite crescent wrench company, the Diamond Tool Company. Now unfortunately these aren't the super wide opening, and those are usually marked on here. These are just standard opening, which is still pretty good there. Okay, so that's opening up about 3/4 of an inch. All right, and there goes my scale. But this has a little itty bitty 4-inch on the other end, which is kind of neat. So if you want to be really cool, you know, these guys will walk around with these chains on their wallets, and they have a crescent wrench. Well, put that on your key ring there. But yeah, I kind of like that. That's kind of neat, a 6 and a 4-inch all in one, and it's in great shape. So thanks for the little tools there, Gordon. Those are kind of cool. And then we'll take a look at these books too. Pretty neat. Okay, so the first book we're going to look at here is it's a manual of physical measurements, and really what it is it's a book about experimental physics, kind of. It's kind of neat, and look at this. This guy Carl Lagerquist. Anyway, look at this very, very nice, careful handwriting. In fact, I don't know if you can see it, but he actually laid out little lines like a draftsman would to ink his name in into the book. So, you know, he probably paid a few bucks for this book or whatever back in, this is pretty old, let's see here. Now it's a used bookstore price, $2 there. This is 1912, okay. Anyway, kind of a neat book, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but there is one thing in here, and another viewer, James, from the, I don't know, he does the first robotics thing back east. He was asking about measuring spherical lenses, and he and I emailed back and forth a little bit, and this is the device that's used for that. It's called a spherometer, and basically the way it works is it has three points like a little tripod, and you calibrate the 0 by putting it on a surface plate, and then you put it on a spherical lens, and you run this down until the center post touches. And by doing a little math and calculating the chord, you can determine the curvature of that lens pretty closely. Now this one's kind of neat because it's an analog deal here. What they've done is they've graduated a disc, and then they have a turns count. Yeah, I don't know how many divisions are on that. Anyway, I can't read it upside down. So they've made this kind of neat analog scale to do this here. And then here's the calculations here to the chords to get that. Now, so you can measure the curvature in different areas on the lens and determine what that is. You know, this would be like a telescope mirror or something like that. That's very shallow curve to them and difficult to measure accurately. So they have a bunch of tests, but this is one way you can measure those kinds of lenses. So James, there's a spherometer for you, and you can look those up. And he wanted to make an electronic drop indicator type one, which you could replace that with an indicator, and that would work great too. So anyway, there's one there. Okay, so this next one here, this I think Adam showed these and a couple other guys have. This is the American Machinist Handbook, Colvin and Stanley, they're relatively famous guys in the machine tool world or whatever. And let's see if we can find a date in this one here. This is a pretty old one here. 1929 it looks like here, 5th printing. Now, I'm just gonna, I got a couple of, this book is different than Machinery's Handbook, okay? It's got some different stuff in it that is, oh, this is the 4th edition, okay. Anyway, it's got some different stuff in it, and we're gonna look at some of that different stuff. So let's turn to my first tag here. Here's a little article on building workbenches, right? Okay, so this is stuff that needs to happen in the shop, and they show some different methods for building workbenches, which I thought was kind of cool. You know, a cheaper method, and then the legs and whatnot. You know, so if you want to run a shop, you know, this is a good book to have, right? Okay, let's go to the next one here. And okay, so another guy and I were talking about worm gears, and I didn't look his name up before I came down here, but there's a little section on worm gears and some calculations for determining the gear blank width and some other things that are in a shorthand form, which is kind of nice. So I just thought I'd show that real quick. And then the last one back here, what are we looking at here? Oh, another guy. Okay, this is James Harwell. He has a sister that does some leather work, and he was talking about clicker presses and cutting dies for leather and things like that. And I saw this, and I just love the name. They're called dinking dies, right? Like dink, 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 right? So you guys think I invent all these words, right? But they're real words. See that? Dinking, right? Anyway, they show these dinking dies, you know, and this would be for cutting out a shape in paper or cloth or leather or something like that. And they have handles, or if they're going to be used in a press, they don't put a handle on it. And then they also go on to mention here on the second page that a cutting platen that you can cut on is maple on the end grain, okay? And this is something that I mentioned too. So instead of cutting on the side grain of wood, if you cut into the end grain like this, you know, wood is a stack of tubular structures on the inside, right? So what happens is, you know, here, you know, you're cutting and you're crushing the grain. Here, you know, you're driving into the opening of the, well, this isn't maybe not a great example, but it's kind of the idea, right? You're driving in, and this is why wood splits in this direction really well, because you're driving into the end of the tube, right? Well, it's a really great surface for cutting gaskets on the end grain. All the kids in the shop, they always cut on the side grain. And I say, hey, cut it on the end grain, right? And it takes a fraction of the pressure to cut when you cut on the end grain. Anyway, they say that in there too. So anyway, that book, that's American Machinist Handbook, Colvin and Stanley. If you see a copy at a used bookstore, definitely worth picking up. Check it out. Okay, so this is the last of the 3 books that Gordon sent me, and this one is, I actually have a copy of this, and this is a really interesting book. Actually, mine it might be slightly different. I didn't go look at it. This guy's pretty old here. Let's see if we can. I think I found the date up in the front. Yeah, this is 1915. Okay, and there's some really neat stuff in here, and it's just got some wonderful engravings in here, or plates, different machines, and oh, and it's got these cool little fold outs in a few places. There's another one. I don't know what this one is. Okay, you can see that, and then they even show the scraping on these surfaces here. It's kind of neat. So there's a bunch of these fold outs. Now I got some flags in the back here. Let's go to those. You know, these book reviews could go on and on and on if you're not careful, right? So we've been talking about arbor presses a little bit. I got a new one. Now there's a floor model there. Let me do this properly here. There's a floor model there. That's a little different style. Now what I wanted to show you was, and this is completely coincidental, so there's a stand for a bench model. And I showed some steel plates that I had cut out that are actually very similar to that, okay? And that's what the stand that I'm building is going to look like, although it's not going to have that nice sweeping curve in the front of it there. This has a little, it's hard to see in the picture here, but it's got a little cutout here to catch the broach when it pops through the part there, so it doesn't fall down on the floor. So anyway, that's kind of neat. Next one, it's about tool bits here. Okay. Now some guys have asked me about these diamond tool bits that you see in the back of Home Shop Machinist, and some little machine shop I think sells them. A few guys online sell them. Okay. They're nothing new. They've been around for a long time, right? So here they are right here. These are these diamond-shaped tool bits that you just dress the top off, and then you slide the tool up to bring it on center, right? And it's a very simple grinding. For guys that have a hard time with grinding tool bits, this is a reasonable way to be able to produce a crisp, sharp edge anytime you want, because basically all you have to do is grind a flat, okay? So there they are, 1915 or 16 or whatever. They've been around for a while, okay? All right, so the last thing in here is really cool. And I'm going to read a little paragraph here because it's kind of neat. And I apologize because I'm going to have to turn it around. But it's called Shop Talks. And, this is kind of what we're doing here, right? Except I'm videotaping this, all right? What this is this is a little article on how to be a mechanic, okay? So let me just read this here. Be a mechanic, not a machine. Stay at home evenings and study natural philosophy, chemistry, mathematics, drawing, etc. Fit yourself for a high position. Save your money and go to technical school. Choose one branch of mechanical art and study it and learn all you can about it. You will find little trouble in getting a good paying job. Remember that water never rises higher than its head or its fountain. Neither can you rise higher than your aim or ambition in life. Okay? So they're given good advice there. Okay? So who the heck is it? Brooks. Guys wanted to succeed, right? So he's saying, okay, you want to succeed? Follow this recipe and you'll do fine. And I would have to agree with him that this is true. The guys that go to work and they just do their little job and they come home and then they watch cable TV all night, right? Okay, when something new comes along, maybe they're not in a great position to pick up on it. Okay, people that go home and do a little studying and self-improvement, maybe they take a college course or sign up for a class or something like that. These are people that are into self-improvement. And I'll tell you, I've been on that side of the hiring bench, so to speak, and folks that are demonstrating that they're into self-improvement. Certainly, they get a little check in the in the plus column, I guess is what you would call it. So, anyway, just kind of interesting, and that there's a little bit of kind of life advice in there, how to make a good weld, how to manage a foundry. So, boring an engine cylinder, all kinds of stuff, and then there's a little section on shop kinks. Anyway, that's this Brooks 20th Century Machine Shop Practice. You see a copy of that, pick it up. Pretty cool reading. Okay, so I did a little horse trading with a guy, and his name is Mike Dittman, and Mike and I did a little horse trading, and this is what I ended up with out of the deal here. And this is a Dorian tool right angle attachment for a milling machine. So, excuse me, I get the hiccups here. This fits, it's got an R8 arbor inside, and this fits around the quill. And then it has a set of bevel gears here, and I'll turn it inside here. And so, basically, you can do right angle type work. So you can sort of do some things that like you could do on a horizontal mill, but in a Bridgeport type mill, okay? Anyway, Mike had this, he couldn't use it, doesn't fit his mill, so it's just, collecting dust and kicking around in his shop, and he asked if I was interested in it, and so we got to talking, and we kind of horse traded a little bit. He was just going to send it to me, and I didn't feel right about that, so I said, well, hey, what are you looking for? So he gave me a little list of stuff, and we came to something that we're both real happy with. So what I kicked in was a set of drill bits, letter drill bits, and he also needed a test indicator, which I had an extra last word, stare at last word indicator. And then, what was the other? There was a little ruler, a 12-inch ruler that was metric and inch, and then a Eagle 66 oil can. So that's kind of what I traded for this guy here. And he was ecstatic to get those things, and things that he could really use. And this is something that I can make use of here. So I did a little trade there with Mike. Mike, thank you very much. That was a pleasure doing business with you there, and I'm stoked. This thing fits my mill. I got to get a drawbar for it and a draw bolt, because it's an oddball sized bolt, 7/16, and then I can use this thing. So a couple times I've really wanted to have one, and that's usually what happens, and you find some way to get around it. And but now I have one, and I can just whip it out anytime I want. Anyway, thanks a lot, Mike. Okay, so a new tool acquisition here is this hammer here, and I guess you'd say that there's kind of a whole story with this hammer here. The guy I got this from is a bit of a character, and he's north of me, up near Petaluma, and he's a regular Craigslist guy, and I see a lot of his stuff on Craigslist. I've never visited his shop and looked at his pile of stuff. Anyway, my wife and I were up there this weekend, and I said, hey, let me see if we can get a hold of this guy, and maybe we'll pop over there and take a look. Well, I managed to do that, and so I wandered around and looked at his pile of stuff, and I'll show you I'll throw some pictures on here. All I had was a little GoPro with me, and I'd have to say that it doesn't take really great still pictures. But I'll put a couple up there for you guys. Anyway, this is a European pattern hammer here. Actually, it's German. This is a Pettinghaus. I think is how you say it, and I can't really see it, but 400 gram, I think, is what that is. So it's in grams on the end. Anyway, it's just a kind of a nice shape, you know, cross peen here. Handle's chipped, and but it's got a really nice handle. Actually, it's double waisted here, so it's narrow here and it's narrow here, and it's got a swell in the middle, which is kind of nice. And the handle's original. I happen to know these guys use these round wedges, and which is an interesting. They look like a hose barb kind of the wedge. The handle's nice and tight. Anyway, it's a nice hammer. I paid too much for it, but it was okay because I took up some of this guy's time, and he chatted with me for 2 hours or so, and we wandered around and looked at all this stuff. So I felt like I needed to buy something just to make it right with him. So anyway, I bought that. That was 40 bucks. That's kind of a lot for me for a single hammer, but this is a nice one. I think you can get these online for 60 or something like that. So with a non-chipped handle. But anyway, he's an interesting character. His ads are on Craigslist in the San Francisco Bay Area, and you'd be lucky to meet him. And he's got a pretty interesting pile of stuff. Okay, so this was last week's mystery tool, and I have to say I was pretty wimpy on the guessing on the comments on this thing. So there were some silly guesses, and then there was 1 or 2 serious guesses. Anyway, Larry Bastianon suggested and says he has seen this in use as some kind of concrete form tool. So you know, you're forming up for concrete, you know, you use wood. Well, I guess they used to use wire or something in the past, and this somehow, and he didn't do a very good job of explaining how it's used. He's going to try to find a picture or something of how it's used as a form tool for concrete work. Now, to help with a little bit of research here, I wire brushed this a little bit, and to the best of my reading here, it's either Codico or Odico. Not sure if this first thing is a letter here. And then it has a patent number, 17636, or it's 17638. It's a little bit hard to tell. I did a little bit of searching. I couldn't find it. But there was one of these on eBay too. So, and you know, big question marks, they don't know what it is. So it's still a mystery. And for those web sleuths out there that want to do a little bit of digging, they can try those numbers and see if they can figure out what this is. And so we're thinking right now that it's some kind of concrete form tool. That's the best guess right now. I got 2 people that say that, and Larry, thanks for he sent me an email. He didn't put it in the comments, but he sent me an email offline, and he's going to try to get a picture together or something like that. Okay? Well, I went over to my friend Marty's place, and he had saved this for me. He dug it out of the scrap bin at work, where he works, and said, "Hey, do you want to add this to your collection of jacked up tools?" And I said, "Wow, that's a pretty spectacular bozo move there. Sure, I'll add it to my collection." So anyway, I just share it with you guys as an oh crap kind of a thing. But we can do a little bit of a forensic analysis on this here, and right away I noticed a couple of things here, and he clued me in on something else too. And but this failure is pretty spectacular. So this is 3/4 inch diameter here, and it's basically popped loose. You know, and it's solid. This was machined out of one piece here, right? So it's failed there, and then it actually has a crack here. So I suspect this is very hard, and heat treated very hard for it to fracture in that manner. I don't want to break this loose because it looks pretty cool the way it is, and so I don't want to do that. And then so we look at the blade here, and what I see, this is just Tom talking here, is they were cutting aluminum. Whoever was doing this was cutting aluminum, and but the aluminum, the chips are bound up in the gullets here, okay, and they're basically, it's a built-up edge, and it looks like what happened was it was cutting, and there was no lubricant on this, okay, none whatsoever from what I can see. And what happened was we got a built-up edge, and then once this happens and it continues to feed, it's a chain reaction at that point. And now this was on a CNC machine, which is what my friend Marty told me, and apparently they were climb cutting, which on a CNC machine is probably okay, with as long as you got coolant running on this, they can flush the chips. So if you run this dry like this, then watch out. And so normally we would conventional mill with a saw like this. You know, there's not much to be gained in climb milling with a saw blade. So and there's certainly plenty to be ungained by doing it that way. And then the fastener's even broken off down in there after the fact. So now this is this is actually a really nice arbor here. This is a Sierra American Tool Works, and so it has a male sleeve that pilots on the saw blade. And so it has a lot of engagement up inside a female bore here, right? So, and this end surface in here is ground so that it's perpendicular to the axis of rotation. So I've used this type before, and they're really nice. This one's not really nice anymore. Anyway, I thought you guys would get a kick out of that, and you know, stuff happens, and you move on, but. This would certainly make your make your rear end snap shut, and make some pretty bad noises in the shop. So.